Hey everybody, I'm here with David from Game Company Number 3, and you're the owner and also one of the designers or the designer of Oh My God, There's an Axe in my head. So yeah, we just want you to tell us a little bit about it and maybe give us an example of how to play it.
Thank you, I'd be happy to. So this is Oh My God, There's an Axe in My Head, the game of international diplomacy. It's set in 1920 in Geneva at Switzerland, the first meeting of the League of Nations, and the Swiss, who are very proud to host this august body of diplomats and world leaders, have hired their champion axe juggling troupe to entertain the assembled delegates. Now, this, as you can tell by the title, is a bad idea. The axe jugglers have gone mad and start hurling their axes into the audience chamber, splitting craniums and causing a panic. But as befits the delegates of the great nations of the time, you must not only escape the League chamber with your lives, but having accomplished your diplomatic goals, creating treaties with other nations, claiming the ownership of valuable territories, and shifting the balance of world power in your favor, all while escaping armed psychopaths.
Great. So can you explain to us just a sample turn, like how?
Sure. So the goal of the game, as in many games, is to collect the most victory points, and you do that by getting your pieces off the board, claiming territories, and offering treaties. And the game is played in turns, which are divided into phases, and I'll give you a rundown of what those are. So the first phase is the axe phase. There's an axe track counter. It starts at 1, and every turn it increases by 1. So the longer you're on the board, the more dangerous it is to remain. We roll the dice. There's a Secretary General, who's the player who acts first in each turn, and they have a couple of special abilities. They roll the dice to see where it goes, and in this example, say the axe flies down the 2 lane. It would hit this piece right here and kill it, replacing it with an axe. And these are all the minor delegates. So there are 6 playable nations. There's the Soviets, the French, Japanese, the Germans, the United Kingdom, and Italy. And there are a number of minor delegates who are essentially blocking pieces in the game, and it's not too important if they die because they don't count as much. So we take them off the board. Then all of the minor delegates move forward 1 square, and if they pass over these exit marks, they leave the board. So we move them all down. And this piece right here is the Swiss piece. He is immune to being axed because his countrymen will not kill him. And since Switzerland is neutral, it would be an act of war to kill him. So we leave him alone. He's sort of a super blocker. After that, there's a movement phase. So in the movement phase, your ambassador and translators may move 1 square. And your bodyguards can move 2 squares. Or they can also, if they land on one of these axe pieces, can pick them up. Can pick them up and use them against other pieces. For example, if the English bodyguard wished to use a movement to throw his axe at the Japanese translator, he could do so. However, the Japanese translator might play a duck card, making the axe not hit him and instead hit the piece behind him, which would be the Russian ambassador, meaning instead of killing the Japanese translator as he wished to, he has now killed the Russian translator, causing him to go to war with the Russians. And we have to check if the English have a treaty with the Russians, and because they are now at war, this treaty is discarded. And since they are in a state of war, they may no longer make treaties. Then after the movement phase, we have a diplomacy phase. So as long as you have your ambassador on the board, you can claim a treaty. So for example, if the Soviets were to claim this a territory, were they to claim this territory, it would go in front of them, and they would score the victory points marked for the Soviets, which in this case is 2. They can also offer each other treaties as long as their translator is on the board. So, for example, the French could offer, they're in a position right now to only make treaties with the Soviets, so they could offer the Soviets this treaty, and if they accepted, they would put it between their seals as shown. And then once a diplomacy card is played, it's reset on the board. There are various cards that can affect things in the game. For example, the United Kingdom could want one of these treaties. They could play the backroom politicking card, which allows you to steal a treaty that's connected to one of your treaty partners. So they could swing it over to go in between them. However, the Italians might not like that, so they would veto that effect, canceling the effect of the card. There are some other fun cards, for example, are Fear the Clowns, causing a random axe to be thrown from the stage at any time in the game. So all of a sudden, there goes the Italian bodyguard. However, were there a minor delegate next to him, he could play Effusive Charm, allowing him to switch places, and instead the minor delegate would be killed. There are many, many ways to avoid being killed by an axe, fortunately, as long as you're not a minor delegate. After that, you have an opportunity to trade cards from your hand, treaties and territories in play, because the territories are worth differing values to differing players. So, for example, if the Japanese had this territory, which is very valuable to the Germans, they could perhaps swap it for something else, or they could just take it to deny the Germans points and trade it later if they wanted to. Then you fill your hand with 5 new cards, and the gameplay continues until the end of the turn that there are less than 2 ambassadors on the board. So it's very important to get your ambassador off in time to not be stranded, because they are worth 5 victory points, which is a pretty big chunk of the game and can decide the winner or the loser. But it also becomes a question of risk management, as you want to stay on the board long enough to collect territories and offer treaties, but get off without an axe in your head and without being stranded in the last one on the board. And that is the gist of the game. And there are many cards with both comedic and fun results in the game. You can steal the gavel as it's being passed. The gavel defines the first player in the phase. It changes hands every turn, much like the governorship in Puerto Rico. Probably familiar with that game. You can have a helmet on your head. You can duck the axe. You can have your translator throw the axe instead of your bodyguard. A lot of surprise effects and a lot of player screwage. Each nation that's playable has its own sovereign power in the game, which is a unique ability that is usable one time and is exactly. When you use it, you flip your flag over, and it's no longer printed there. So the Soviets, there are a couple of cards in the deck called Communist Insurrection, which force someone to discard their territory. However, the Soviets, being the communists, are able to steal it. The French can make one of their treaties permanent. The Japanese can duplicate the effects of another sovereign power after it's been played. The German piece has a helmet on, so the German ambassador, has a helmet on, so if an axe is thrown in his head, he rolls the dice to see where it actually lands, and it could, of course, kill someone next to him.
Bounces off.
Exactly, it bounces off. The United Kingdom can double the victory point value of one of their territories, and the Italians can force one of its cards to go through even if it's been vetoed or challenged by another card. And that is the gist of the game.
Great. It looks really fun. So this is available now. Is this new at newly released?
So we had a previous publisher who was unable to fulfill their obligations to publish it. So we had it on Kickstarter last year. It's coming out this fall in October. We're accepting pre-orders now that it's at the printer, and over the summer there's a pre-order sale. It's $10 less than retail, with free shipping in the US. Available at GameCompany3.com. And yeah, it plays in about an hour. It's for 2 to 6 players. It's best with 4 to 6, but there's a quicker variant with 2 or 3 players. And it'll be out this fall. We're looking forward to playing it with people at conventions all over the U.S.
Great, and it seems like you've had some success with Kickstarter. Do you have future plans to use Kickstarter, future games in the works?
Yes, so I'm working on an expansion for this. I'm not making any official announcements as to the theme, but it will be fun. That will be on Kickstarter in the spring or summer next year. I'll be playtesting it, probably starting with Gen Con. And I'm working on some other games, depending on what goes through, probably a fun card game, like a slightly comedic card game in the works for next year.
Great. So I talk about the digital board games on BoardGameGeek, and so one of my obligatory questions is to ask if you have any plans to make a digital version of this game.
I would love to. I have no idea how that works business-wise at the moment, but I'm talking to some programmers who are interested, and I noticed there are a few companies that do really top-notch versions of games as apps and online, and I would like to talk to them. So if you are one of those people, get in touch.
Definitely.
Yeah. So the short answer is yes, I want to. I don't know when that will happen, but hopefully soon.
Great. Gotta ask, but yeah, this looks really great, and hey, I hope we see more from you in the future, as well expansions, as well as possibly new games or this game on other platforms. It'd be great to see. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for